Hello and welcome to Stockton Junction. Today's video is about Hobby King trees. These are cheap trees that you can buy on the Hobby King website. The Devon Model Railway first showed these, and I thought I would get some and do a video on how to make them just to look a little bit nicer than what they already are, and a small review on them. Some of them, as you can see here, they are wire trees. They've been made out of wire. These have been covered in a bark material. They look quite good, as do those, but there are obviously little bits where the wire's showing, which isn't great. One thing I was a little bit annoyed about though is like the white ones are not covered at all. They're just painted white wire. Look a bit odd. And these smaller ones still have a lot of silver showing up. So you could cover those in some form of putty or plaster. I'm not sure what they use on that there. I know there is a material you can use for making like the bark. You could do that, or just paint them up brown if you wish to. Luckily for me, where I'm going to be placing these trees is right at the back of a whole big bunch of trees, so they're not really going to be seen that much. So I'm going to leave those as they are. Anyway, we'll move on to how I'm going to do this. It's a very, very basic and simple way of doing it. It will just add a bit of depth and colour to the trees, just to make them not look quite so one-coloured and boring. And it's basically using leaves. I've got 3 lots of Gauge Master leaves, which is the light green, middle green and deep green. And I've also got the Knock medium green as well. There isn't a lot of difference between the colour of those two, but I will say the Knock leaves are just slightly larger than the others, so I do some with both colours anyway. A lot of people use like a hairspray technique, etc., or spray glue. I don't like doing that, because when you use a spray glue, that bit of what they've done here, you can see you get bits stuck all on the branches anyway. And if you're doing your own trees, instead of having branches like that, you will have bits of stuff stuck all over the branches, all down the trunks. So when they're already done like this, I have another little way that I'm going to do this, and it's pretty simple. It's a little time consuming, but I think that the effects are pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do is use some Mod Podge matte. Again, as I always say, use the matte because then it dries a matte colour. There's no gloss to it. So I'm going to put a bit in a tray here. Put the lid back on the glue. And all that we're going to do, I shall try and move this into scene a little bit better, is I'll move some of these trees out of the way for now, so we've got a bit of space. Also, when I was meant to mention on my review is like there's some bits like here where there's no foliage and there's a lot of white showing through of the under, which is, I mean, they're fine, they're not bad. If you're doing a big forest, which is what I'm going to be using them for, I'm going to hide most of these at the back of the forest, and use all my better trees at the front of the forest, so they won't be seen so much, so it's not a problem. But obviously if you're just using them on a layout where you've got a lot of trees, that's the best way to do it. So anyway, the brush I'm using is just a flat edged brush. It's quite a stiff old brush because I've had it for quite some time, and I usually use it for glue techniques, so it does tend to get a little bit hard. I'm going to try out first of all. The other thing to do is, obviously, before you do this, if you want to spread any branches out, etc., or there's a few bits of foliage here that are hanging off, I'm going to pull them off. I can use that as a bush later on. I just want to spread these branches out a little bit. It's best to do this now before you start going on to the next technique. I just want it to look less bunched, a little bit more haphazard. I think that looks pretty reasonable. So I'm going to get my brush, dab it in my glue, and I'm literally just going to dab glue across their tops and sides. I don't want full coverage because I want a bit of the other colour to show through, so that it's a multi-tone colour which gives it more depth. That's the problem with the trees as they are. They've got no depth to them because of the single colouring. You have to be fairly quick on this, or you can stop. Because it's a big tree, I could always do half of it at a time so that the glue doesn't dry out. But I am being quite I'm not sparing the glue, if you know what I mean. I'm putting quite big thick dabs on, not over thick, but enough so that it doesn't dry out in the time it takes me to do this. Put a little bit on that bit of branch there just to cover that a bit. Right, so I've got quite a covering of glue on there. So the next job is I'm going to use the Gauge Master light green and sprinkle these on over the tub. You will lose a few, but it's not a big problem. Obviously I haven't tested this colour with this colour yet, so it's all about trial and error. See how it looks. Don't, be quite generous dropping it on there because most of it will shake off in a minute anyway, so it's not a problem. Just make sure I've got all areas. Next, just going to gently tap the tree. And drop that into my foam. As you can see, it's automatically giving it a lot more depth with double colours. I might try that with another colour now, see how that comes out with the mid green over it. I don't need them all the same, and it's obviously this is a very light coloured tree anyway. I remember the guy that showed these on the Devon Model Railway was saying he's not so keen on the light colour, so this is a possible way of changing the lighter colour on the tree to get rid of the lightness if you don't like that. And this is a similar technique to what I use with the seafoam trees, which if I'm making just plain seafoam trees rather than modded seafoam trees, as I call them, which I'll show you in a minute. Just got to finish this one off first. Right, so I'm going to go for the knock mid-green this time. And what we'll do is we'll do one of each colour and just see how the difference comes out. I'm not so keen on that actually. I don't like that one too much. Don't like the way the trees are gone either. Right, well, test all the different colours. I think the lighter colour does look good. That colour on it doesn't look quite so nice. We'll do a different tree now. Let's see. Doing a little bit on the branches here because they are covered in all this stuff anyway, so I wouldn't normally bother with that. Let's try this one with a bit of the dark green. And some of the trees could be left as is, it's not too bad. You want a bit of variety. These are quite big old trees, these ones, so they're quite good for filling big spaces. Just wondering what that, I think the mid-green on this. We'll try out different colours anyway. Nearly out of glue. Again, it's about trial and error, trying the different colours, seeing what you like. Worst case scenario, you have to take a bit of the flocking off and reflock them. It's not, for me, that's not a big deal. I'd rather test off different ways of doing it with different colours first. See what colours go with what well. Ooh, far too much glue, but I'll need all that by the time I've finished all these anyway, so. See, I'll wait till the glue dries on the other trees just to see what the final look is on them. Just get a little bit onto these edges. These trees are pretty big. They're good for space fillers, definitely, if you're doing a larger forest. which is what I will be doing. Let's go for the Gauge Master medium green this time. Let's see how that looks on there. I think that will go quite well together. I find the knock leaves didn't look as nice as the Gauge Master ones for some reason. And they definitely, I know Gauge Master do make a lot of products that are German products, just rebranded in their own name, like some of the model kits that they've brought out recently are literally Faller kits with just a new thing on. But the Gauge Master leaves are definitely not knock leaves. They're different sizing. They may be made by a similar company, but they're not the same size. They're a lot thinner, a lot smaller, but they're not so fine as just to be standard scatter material. Let's stick that in there. I did that. And this is obviously one of the trees I've made, which was just a piece of sea foam. I paint the stalk white on that to represent a beech tree, but it's got a bit of a bend to it. So, but as you can see, that's how the leaves went. It's hard to see that. When that's just a brown spray paint with the light green Gauge Master leaves on. I think it looks pretty good. It's a good colour for a silver birch, that's for sure. So these are the trees so far. Definitely think with the whiter ones, the lighter leaves actually make it look a lot better. I'm not so keen on this colour. This one doesn't look, this is just a standard plain one. But we shall wait and see how they turn out. But obviously I don't want all my trees to be light colours. They've got to all be different colours when I'm building a big forest, because otherwise the whole forest would look the same. And when you do look at the forest, the one thing you do notice is the whole bunch of variety of different greens, and occasionally a few reds in there. But even if you're driving down the road, just look at the tree line, see how many different shades of green you can see in just one little row of trees. So for me, the one thing I don't want, and the one thing that I think makes an area look absolutely awful, is a whole bunch of trees all the same colour, because it's just so unrealistic. It doesn't bring realism to a scene. It just makes it look a bit forced. It doesn't make it look natural. So I don't know if I don't think I've shown anyone, I can't remember yet, on my last update video, but I've all my other trees that I've built, I've started putting in up in the car park area that we're doing on the scenic area, and that will be in my video later, because I'm going to be I'll show you them before at the end of this video in a minute. I'm just going to do a cut this one, and then we'll leave these and end the video, and I can get on and finish a few more off. I said what I'm going to be doing is removing all the trees that I've put up at the end corner. When you see it, you might think, well, that's silly. So let's have a quick look, a very quick look, because I'm going to show this later in detail in my update video, which I'm hoping to do today as well. I have another video to do before that one, so this is going to be the first of 3 that I'm making today. So there are the trees so far. A bit of a range of colours there, not looking too bad. Obviously the glue's not dried yet, so you've still got some white patches. But this is the corner that I'm working on with my car park.
and all of those trees there are seafoam trees that I've made. Now I'm going to actually take all of those out and fill the back area with all of those, the not so good trees, and then have all my seafoam trees, all my good trees, towards the front area to build this forest coming down here. I'm going to do that before the update video where I show you the rest of what's been going on in this area. There's a few more bits that I've done, and I'll come back with that hopefully today. I've got one more video to do, as I said before, that which I shall be doing after I've done this one, which is to weather a building. And in this case, the building that I'm going to be weathering is this Hornby, I believe it's Hornby, yeah, Hornby Scaledale tractor barn. It's a resin building, comes as it is like that. It does have a little bit of weathering along the bottom, but it's not brilliant. So I'm going to improve that one, and I'll be doing that video after I've made these trees. So hopefully I'll be able to upload both of those and do my update video and upload that also today as well. So thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed this video, found it of some use. Feel free to comment, and if you haven't subscribed, do please subscribe, and it would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. Goodbye.